Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Mobile Rust Doctor and we're on to part 6 of this test of Underseal products. And the first test was done late August and now we're in early November, so there's been about 5 episodes so far. We're well into it and this is episode 6, and on this occasion I'm going to use this here, and it's a solution of hydrogen peroxide, white vinegar, dab of salt, and this is an accelerant of rust. So I'm going to show you what's been happening to the rust piece, the test pieces for the last 2 months, and there's been some interesting developments, and I'm also going to spray them all with this and show you what happens in a few days time. So ladies and gentlemen, this is test 6. It's early November. It's been 2 months. Let me quickly go over it. This is a test piece, completely rusted, terrible. This is wool wax, the best selling in America, and it's doing brilliantly. I think it's not really showing any rust. This is Dinitrol. It's doing quite well, but it's showing rust where I put the scrape marks. These scrape marks are put on each pieces, by the way. And wool wax did self-heal. This is incredible. This is Bilt Hamber Dynax, and it seems it is a firm finish. It's different than the other lanolin products. It's a derivative of lanolin without smelling like lanolin, like sheep. And the difference between this, which is it's a derivative of lanolin. The difference between this and say wool wax or Lanoguard is that this is dry to touch. It doesn't attract a mess, but it's like a dry wax. It's still self-healing. Look at these massive gouge marks. No rust is forming. This is a really incredible result. This is LPS free. This one, a test out of 33 other products. I will link that. It's a channel called Bike Stand Social, something like that, and I will link it. This is wax oil by Genelite. It attracts a lot of mess. The only problem with this, it does perform brilliantly, but it attracts a lot of mess, which is not ideal. Oh my god, this is fluid film, absolute disaster. And here we are. This is Lanoguard, and it's really doing rubbish. Not impressed by Lanoguard at all. It tracks muck, it's rusting, and just because it's doing better than fluid film doesn't mean it's good. So there we go. I'm gonna now apply the deadly solution. We'll see how well these test pieces cope. Remember, this solution is a rust accelerant, and I'm gonna put the camera out slightly if I can. This is a rust accelerant. Okay, here we go. This is on every single piece, totally saturated. Okay, here we go. Well, I don't think the fluid film died. Let's see how Lanoguard does. Okay, so we're going to come back tomorrow and we will see what happens. It's thoroughly coated, and I'll leave that here. We'll come back tomorrow. And just a quick update on the second test. For those who are saying, oh, Lanoguard is brilliant, it's a biased test or what have you, I bought these separately out of my own money. I don't care which one wins. But here's a second test for Lanoguard. And this is a Lanoguard grease and Lanoguard proper, if I remember rightly in that order. And you can see it's rusting, it's doing terribly. So it didn't even matter if it's a grease applied. Lanoguard have a grease which is thicker. They say withstands like showers, it withstands wash from the wheels, etc. High weather areas. And this is well, either you can see both of them rust and don't do very well. Here's a test on Dinitrol and Bilt Hamber. Both doing very, very well. These aren't actually rust pieces, by the way, it's just colouring. When one of the pieces dropped onto that in the wind. And this is an interesting thing here. This is a rust converter applied to bare metal. Look how badly it really rusted through. So neutral rust. This was a test. Why I would really put it onto bare metal, which someone suggested you could also put it on bare metal. So not only would it convert rust and make it into a black inert colour, you know, substance, that it would protect the bare metal. Well, it didn't protect the bare metal. It really accelerated the rust. So that's a concern, really, if you're thinking about putting a rust converter onto bare metal that isn't protected, obviously, by paint or something. And this is a very strange test. Now, I'm going to make a separate video for this. This is a product I had received from China, and it's a bit like road tar. It doesn't seem the greatest to work with, but it's actually doing brilliantly. I will update on this. This is a special product I had received. They asked me to test it, and it hasn't rusted on where the scrape marks are, so it's kind of self-healed. And I'm really impressed by that. I'm going to have a separate update on that. Anyway, we'll come back tomorrow and see what happens. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually a week later after putting the rust accelerant on all the test pieces, and there's been remarkable results. So let's check it out. So here we are, and we've got some really amazing results. The hydrogen peroxide rust accelerant with vinegar and salt was sprayed on about a week ago, and well, the test piece with no product on, terrible. What was really surprising here was wool wax. As soon as the accelerant was put on, the wool wax collapsed, and that was doing really well, and that's a top brand in America. Completely collapsed. Dinitrol doing very well. Now these scrape pieces, the Dinitrol didn't self-heal, but the scrape marks of rust was limited to where the marks was. Bilt Hambers also resisted the accelerant and did brilliantly, but with the accelerant the scrape marks did start to rust. But bear in mind, these scrape marks were a lot thicker than the ones I put on Dinitrol, and it didn't initially rust, so there was some self-healing initially. Both of these have done brilliantly, and if you compare that to LPS 3, here we are. This had an advantage on this test because at this part of the board it's actually more of a slope, so the rust accelerant liquid actually washed down and only formed a little puddle here, but you can see where it did, that it rusted. So Bilt Hamber and Dinitrol here actually beat LPS 3, which is amazing because LPS 3 won out of 33 other products on Bennett's Bike Social, another channel. Here we are. This is Wax Oil by Genelite. This was a second to LPS 3 in the other test. Been doing really well, but with the accelerant it's just not coped with it at all and started to rust. Another issue with Wax Oil by Genelite is that it's very sticky and it's very messy, it attracts dirt. So fluid film, oh my god, here we are, fluid film. This was the worst performing out of all of them, really poor. And I'm happy I've done this test because initially I was going to use this product based on some favourable tests in America. But what I learned about those tests is that it was tested separate to wash tests. And in real life, you're always going to have water washing up on the underside, so they weren't realistic tests. Lanoguard, oh my god, collapsed as soon as accelerant was put on. It didn't do very well anyway. And with the accelerant, it's just completely started to rust, so that's a really poor result. And if we check out the second pieces here, we can find that Dinitrol is done brilliantly, as has Bilt Hamber. Yeah, as has Bilt Hamber. And we can check out the other pieces. This was actually Genelite. Again, it's rusted completely through. And oh my god, look, Lanoguard, the normal spray, completely rusted. Lanoguard grease, no difference, didn't help whatsoever. And yeah, so we have a winner. Out of all the weeks and months of testing, there's finally 2 products that have won. Remember, Bilt Hamber actually comes in a clear coat as well, and does self-heal. I mean, look, you have Lanoguard and it says it self-heal, so if there's a scratch or a bump, it'll self-heal, but that doesn't help if it's completely rusted through. So so my favourite would be Bilt Hamber, because it doesn't chip. Here's a chip mark. I think Dinitrol will chip because it's a paint and it's much less forgiving to apply. Bilt Hamber is a wax, so it actually does move, and it's self-healing. So Bilt Hamber is my favourite. Plus it comes in clear, much more forgiving to apply onto surfaces that are less than perfect. And third place would be LPS3 from America, but it's very, very expensive, hard to get in the UK, and doesn't apply too well from what I've seen, so it's not really an option. There we are.